Hi, this is Richard with Paint Covered Overalls. I'm making the long overdue video of me transplanting my peppers. I was making a new space, literally making a new space inside my garage to store my transplanted plants for the next month before they go out to the garden. You can't transplant them yet because we still have risk of frost, and peppers die in frost. And I have a lot of peppers, so I need a lot of space. They are really not root bound, but they have a lot of roots sticking out the bottom, so I'm gonna have to be careful when I transplant them into the new pots. Because peppers grow so slowly, I'm gonna use these little ones. They're 3 inches around, and I'm gonna put 1 or 2 of each variety instead of the large one, just in case I have enough peppers that I can experiment with that, see who does the best. So I'm gonna just start on the peppers that are closest to me and work that way. And when I finish, I'm going to start transplanting some of my other plants that also need to be transplanted at this time. If you haven't seen it already, this is going to follow roughly the same process as when I was transplanting my basil, except in this case I am going to add a little bit of fertilizer to each one because I didn't use a compost mix when I initially planted the pepper seeds, simply because there was just so many of them. So here we go. Right. This is just one of 5 trays I am transplanting today. So I will do one all the way through, and then I will just fast forward through the rest, because it's just going to be the same thing over and over again. So why continue to watch? For mine, I'm just using a fertilizer mix that's got a pepper on the front. It's just an all-purpose. And then with fertilizers, it's actually really, really important to read the back, because if you over-fertilize a plant, you can end up killing it. And in this case, you want 1 cup for every 25 square feet. So I'm just going to put a couple of granules inside of each one. There's container instructions. So a gallon requires 2 tablespoons. These are basically a cup. So I need significantly less than that. So just a couple of granules in each one. So step 1, get your container. A little bit of dirt in the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to start with some cayenne peppers. So as you can see, I am really late in transplanting these. When I remove the peppers from here, I'm gonna have to be careful not to have the roots get cut on the plastic on there. If any of them are tangled up, I should untangle them before removing them. And in this particular case, I'm not going to thin out the peppers. I'm going to transplant them and then see who survives and work from there. So I've got the dirt in there. I'm going to put a couple of granules of the fertilizer in there, and then I'm going to take the plant, that root, put in there. Now I'm noticing I did not have enough dirt. So if you don't have enough dirt in there when you transplant it, you can add more. It just becomes more difficult. You don't want to end up burying the actual peppers, and you still want them as centered as possible. So there we go. So the basils were instead of a much smaller thing, so what I did was I filled up the planter, then I just poked a tiny hole, slid the base line. But there you go, there's one transplanted. I'm going to do all of these, then I'm going to label them. I'm going to put them just above me is where the shelf goes, and that shelf has plant lights up there. I had to paint it so it's all waterproof, so the moisture from all of these plants isn't going to create mold on the walls. I've taken all of the plants out of the planter. So these were all cayenne peppers. I've transplanted them into 14 of these and 2 of these, just to see what happens. A little science experiment. With my cayenne peppers, I was fortunately lucky that 100% of the seeds I put in germinated. With all my other types, I'm not going to have as many, so there won't be this large amount of plants. So the cayenne peppers actually take up more than a 10 by 20 sheet up there, but something like my mini bells here, there are 3 less squares, and some of my spicier peppers, like my jalapenos, have even less. So I'll be seeing like 10 or 8, so I don't have to worry about space up there. All right, I'm actually going to fast forward through all the rest of this because it's going to be the same process for each one. You're going to get your planter, you're going to fill it with dirt, put a little fertilizer in, transplant the pepper in, level it out, label it, and put it up in my new planter area. And at the end of this, I will show you what that planter area looks like full of my transplanted peppers. And as a reminder, in Durham, North Carolina, the last frost date is sometime in early to mid-April. I'm choosing April 15th as my date when I can put all of these peppers out into the garden. They will survive. They like it a little bit warmer than that, but they will survive as long as they doesn't freeze.
All right, while you're watching this lovely fast forward of me planting, I want to point out a couple of mistakes that I did make. For one, my seed starters were soaked, so pulling the actual clump of soil out with the roots was a bit of a problem. Also, I acknowledge that the camera angle could have been way better. And I know anyone who watches this is probably going to ask why there's a huge mess behind me. I've been working on a shelf project and some lighting, so there's a lot of drywall dust and 2x4 bits just lying everywhere while I was doing this. It was more important to me at the time to get the peppers transplanted than to clean up that mess, but you'll be happy to know it's cleaned up now. It's not a pepper coming up. It's called a balsam peppermint stick. It's looked really cool in the catalog. It was an impulse buy. It's not edible. It's just something that I thought would look really neat inside of a flower garden or near my plants. Here they are. They're already turning red, so it's pretty cool.
Okay, this is what my top shelf plant area looks like. As you can see on the far left, you got cayenne peppers, mini bell peppers, jalapeno, California Wonder's a type of bell. We got bullnose, big gem. There's some balsam peppermint sticks, Anaheim peppers. Then we just have sweet basil, piccolino basil, and cinnamon basil filling up these other ones here. That's actually a grapevine that's going to go in the ground pretty soon. But I just built this whole thing up here just for my plants. I've got 2 plant lights suspended. I can lower those, but I wanted to make sure they covered all of these pepper plants. So now that I've moved them all, I have room to plant my tomatoes.